Hello everyone and welcome to this video San Frontier video. My name is Jay Wakefield and the time is 12:33 AM on March the 22nd, 2013. Now, back in 2011, I started watching Billy Corr's videos, www.youtube.com/roadgeek. In particular, his videos about his 90s Packard Bell collection running Windows 3.1 and 95, and I always got to thinking how brilliant it would be if Billy would do a video on the assistive technology available on Packard Bell machines. Unfortunately, Billy didn't necessarily know about this at the time, so it would have been a bit of a research effort. But nevertheless, I did email him about this and started chatting about my Compact Presario 2240 and how that was our first machine, but that I didn't think that I would ever go into, collecting old compacts. Yikes. Moving on. So, anyway, it seems that the message seems to have been forgotten within the seas of time, though. Billy then obviously opened the original Packard Bell group, which is now unfortunately gone. But we're still, I did make a lot of friends in that group, and even though the group is now gone, I'm still friends with a lot of people from that on Facebook, and it seems that it's we do chat quite a lot. Now, not so long ago, in quite a nice ironic twist actually, Billy set me a challenge. And this challenge was as follows. He said, Jay, your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to make a video talking about the different bits of assistive technology that is available to Windows 95 and Windows 98. Well, I would actually like to say that today I'm going to accept the challenge. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the hardware that I can show. I don't have any hardware that I could show off. Needless to say, though, I can talk a wee bit about it. Obviously, lots of hardware devices did exist. The first pieces of assistive technology. What I saw something on the Computer Chronicles about a program that would make DOS bigger, DOS text bigger, so you could actually see it on your laptop screen. But unfortunately, that was actually marketed towards laptop users, but I'm sure a desktop user who was visually impaired could have made use of such a thing. But for Windows 95 and 98, you could get some of the original screen readers didn't actually, when screen readers for IBM compatible PCs came out, they didn't actually utilise a sound card because a lot of machines just weren't equipped with a sound card. And to actually do so, I think would have put quite a heavy strain on the system's resources. So instead, you used to get a speaker, kind of a speaker that would plug into the parallel port of the machine, and the parallel port, and then data would be sent from the screen reader to the speaker, and then that would read it out in kind of a pseudo-robotic voice. It wasn't kind of robotic, kind of 80s robotic, it sounded like a real person, but the voice used was very expressionless and flat. And that was a bit of a shame, but never mind. But, as time went by, later pieces of software did come out that used the sound card. But there was also other hardware available, like trackballs for kids, to use them, use the mouse, kind of really big ergonomic ones, and you also had big keys keyboards, for people who found it kind of difficult to be able to manually manipulate something, just like a regular desktop or laptop keyboard. I'm showing a laptop keyboard here. I mean, even some non-disabled people find laptop keyboards a wee bit difficult to negotiate. But yeah, all that aside, that was kind of peripheral. Also, you had touch screens. They were quite often used by people with disabilities. And then you could get a kind of larger screen. So, I mean, a lot of the technology around... I mean, I'm sorry if I'm missing any here, because I'd always like to learn more. It's difficult to find information out about assistive technology for systems so old. It's quite sad, because obviously looking for, older software to be able to kind of do this challenge with, it just seems that in the assistive technology world, old computers are something that's largely forgotten. And I would love to put an end to that, because I don't believe that vintage computer collecting should be left to the non-disabled. However, Windows 95 and 98 did have a few software things to kind of help with accessibility as well. I mean, we are going to look at that. But like I said, I mean, I'm really sorry I can't do hardware. Like I was saying, though, I mean, a lot of assistive technology that I was exposed to at school, it was kind of just regular technology kind of put to use in a different way. It wasn't designed, whereas a screen reader is designed specifically, or a screen magnifier is designed specifically for people who can't see the screen. And a screen reader as well. Or how actually no, that's not even designed. Things like voice activation or touch screens or, larger keyed keyboards, they can be used by a variety of different people. Although I think larger keyed keyboards are either, used by kids or people who just, have a disability that can affect their motor neuron skills. So anyway, enough of me trying to blether on about blethering. Let's have a look at what Windows 95 and 98 had to offer. Now, for this test, I'm using the Compaq Armada 1750. And just to let you know that since you last kind of saw it on this channel, I have actually upgraded the hard disk to a 10GB drive out of my old ThinkPad T21, which is sadly no longer with us. It expired. But a new one is on its way. So I'm running both Windows 95 and 98 on here, just so I can show some of the differences. Sorry about that. So what we're going to be doing here, we're going to be looking at a couple of, a variety of different options that can help people who have disabilities. And we're going to be discussing the pros and cons of each one. Because it's not just assistive technology that can actually help people with disabilities in Windows. So we're in Windows 95, and at the moment, nothing... Control panel window has appeared. Soon make short work of that. So at the moment, there's nothing enabled. There's software installed on here, but nothing is enabled. Now, there are a couple of ways that you could go about setting this particular machine up for use by people with disabilities. Actually, I'm lying. Something has been set up. See the big black mouse pointer? That is part of Windows' accessibility. However, The big black mouse pointer did not come with Windows 95 originally. You could download the alternative mouse pointer pack from Microsoft. In fact, you still can. altpnt.exe, the file is called. And basically what that is, it's a self-extractable archive that will copy two files over, a readme file and a setup file. Now basically what happens is you run the setup file, and what it'll give you is some extra mouse pointers. But with Windows 95 you did get the white mouse pointer in a number of different sizes. Well, you got small, medium and large. But you know what, I'm going to leave it to Windows 98 to talk about the different pointers on offer. So, a lot of these might kind of look like regular mouse options, but trust me, these are things that can help if you have disabilities. One thing that can help people who are visually impaired is this wee guy, the mouse trails option. Now, mouse trails is fantastic, and to be honest, if you run a machine with a passive matrix display, you'll probably know about this, because literally you have to have it. I mean, when I'm installing Windows on a computer with a passive matrix display, oh my goodness, it looks, yeah. I always lose the mouse pointer because you can't obviously reset the mouse pointer in Windows. I mean, I always used to think during the Windows install, you know, about the Windows 95 installation procedure. I always used to think, well, I can't really do that because I'd not be able to, you know, I wouldn't actually be able to see the mouse pointer. And I guess I'm right. You know, it is difficult, but I mean, I just navigate via the keyboard, which is something that Windows has always let you do. Now let's actually go into the accessibility options themselves. Now these have come with Windows 95 from the RTM days. And there's a few neat things in here. So, when you open the accessibility options control panel, the first tab you'll see is a keyboard tab. So you have something like the sticky keys. Ever had to press Ctrl-Alt-Delete? Well, actually, I know someone who only has the use of one hand, and we were trying to actually delete all of the email out of her inbox. Now, you know, I actually said, well, rather than going through the well, actually, no, I think we needed her to press Control on the keyboard while kind of clicking each email, because there was a few she wanted to keep. And of course that would be the quickest way to do it. Unfortunately though, like I said, because she only had the use of one hand, she couldn't do it. So I had to come along and press and hold Control for her. I didn't realise at the time. However, using sticky keys, what can happen is if you need to press like multiple keystrokes, I don't think that it'll work when you just need to hold down a key. Basically what happens is, let's say you're pressing Ctrl-Alt-Delete, which is, you know, quite a common option in Windows for NT log on. But it's quite a common thing to do in Windows. Pressing Ctrl-Alt-Delete, you don't have to press and hold it. You just press Control and then release, and then you press Alt and then release and then delete. You just kind of press the buttons, you know, one after the other. Boop, boop, boop. And sticky keys, well, it basically does what it says on the tin. It sticks the key down. The computer registers that as the key being held down. Unfortunately, the person who I was talking to, the person who I helped to delete her email, I literally gave a hand to this person. She actually found that sticky keys didn't work all that well. And this was obviously on a modern machine. Bit of a shame. Now the next option down is something called filter keys. Now, there's a lot of, there are a lot of motor neuron conditions that can cause one to actually, you know, maybe be quite shaky. And it's not just the usual kind of it's not just Parkinson's. You know, that there are certain other conditions that can actually cause someone to, you know, have, be shaky. And unfortunately, that means when you're typing, it means you can be prone to repeated keystrokes. So, if you're typing in Word, you might end up giving it one of these. So what Filter Keys is designed to do, it's designed to actually filter out some of the superfluous key presses. So hang on, I'll try and show you now. I'll try and find a number 8. See, at the moment it's registering every one of my key presses. But you can actually ignore repeat key strokes, and you can actually tell it the amount of time to ignore. So, if you type if you shape quite fast, you might only need it to ignore for a short amount of time. Whereas, if you do, type a wee bit slower and you still press, extraneous key presses, you might need to set that for a wee bit longer. So if I try, if I'm typing now, so as you can see, it'll only register, one key press out of so often, every so often. And obviously, like I say, you can change this. So it's, it'll ignore for a longer or shorter amount of time. Quite a useful feature to have. Then, of course, you have toggle keys. And I actually do use this because, it doesn't seem to work on this computer on Windows 95. You just get a kind of pathetic sound. I don't know if I can kind of, put the volume up anywhere. I don't know where the volume the volume button is on this machine. There it is. Derp. You get a pathetic kind of crackling sound. But on my main computer, when I do it, I get a sound. And I think that's what should happen on Windows 95 as well, but it must be something in the way it's been set up. But I do like toggle keys. Okay, next we have sound. So we have something called sound entry. And basically what that will do is that will flash the screen when a sound is being played. To allow me to demonstrate. So I'm just going to try and run something. I know this should generate an error with the sound. Oh my goodness, that didn't work at all! Oh, we can flash the desktop. Full screened. And you can actually flash different parts of the screen. So let's try that again. Some sounds it doesn't work, some sounds it does. Obviously, I think this kind of needed fixed up. And then, of course, you have show sounds. And what that would do is that would basically set any program that could read out that could actually put closed caption in, it would tell the program to do that. So if you have this enabled on a more modern computer, for example, one with the DVD playback capability, your DVD software will probably see that this is enabled. In fact, we're going to go into this in a wee bit. Your computer is going to see that it's show sound has been enabled, and the closed captioning will be on by default. Kind of helpful, is that. Next we have display, and we're going to go into that in more detail as well. Basically what it will do is it'll just kind of set Windows to high contrast. That's all that's there for. And if you check that, it seems that no matter what you do to change the colour scheme, it'll change back to this because that is checked. However, like I said, there's two ways to be able to. There's lots of ways to be able to do the change the display settings. Then you have something called mouse keys, which is quite interesting. Mouse keys is basically useless on this computer because the number keypad would need enabled, and on a laptop it's a wee bit awkward. But on a desktop with a number pad, you can use the number pad as your mouse keys. So basically, if you have trouble using a mouse, you can actually use keys on the keyboard to control the mouse. And then I think the number 5 button is click, and then the minus button is right click. I once had a Pentium 100 PC that I was given, and unfortunately it used the old DIN standard. No, it used DIN for keyboards and serial for mouse, and I didn't have a serial mouse, so I just used mouse keys to actually sort that one out. In general, these are admin settings, so you can actually set in Windows, to turn on or off accessibility features. Give warning message when turning a feature on, make a sound when turning a feature on or off. And then there's serial key devices allowing alternative access to keyboard and mouse features. And, you can tell Windows to support that. As yet, I've been Googling, I can't even find any examples of any serial keys devices. So that's not any good. So, that is basically the accessibility options in Windows 95. But like I said, there are others. It just seems you have to go elsewhere to find them, like the mouse pointers. You can make them larger by default in Windows 95 and 98. For any Windows 3.1 users out there that want to do that, go online. There's a couple of options. Logitech Cyberman mouse driver will offer you larger mouse pointers, or the Microsoft IntelliPoint driver. I always use the latter. I used the former when I found it. We used something quite similar in school. But, I did actually prefer, now given a choice, I prefer to use Microsoft IntelliPoint. Okay, now for display, setting the machine up to be easier to see is actually not too big a deal in Windows. However, there are ways that you should do it, and there's ways that you probably shouldn't do it. And I'll talk about those. Now, the first and most obvious one is to change your colour scheme. No, seriously. And I'm not meaning do what everyone else did and change it to brick, because I'm so original. I'm going to change it to kind of this icky browny one. I don't know why. In a way I kind of like it, but in a more accurate way, who decided that kind of browny, sludgy mess was a good idea? But you also have high contrast ones and large versions of colour schemes. So for example, we've got high contrast black, and what that will do is that actually just makes things a wee bit higher contrast. See? It's easier to read, apparently. And it's perfect for some people who actually prefer white on black. And as you can see in Microsoft Word, it changes, actually takes effect on the paper as well. Don't worry, this does not mean that when you come to print out a document, it'll all be white on black. Because it won't, it'll just be the regular colours. Oh yeah, and Word crashes for some reason. But not only did you have high contrast black, you had the larger versions. So, for example, you can actually, you can make things a lot larger. If you're a sort of person though that can actually read better black on white, fear not, because you also had high contrast white. I'm not sure whether I like this colour scheme or not. Sorry about that, silly memory card again. The high contrast white scheme was a couple of the machines at my old school had it in use. And of course you had large and extra large versions of that. Now, if you were okay with being able to differentiate and discriminate between different contrasting tones, there were colour schemes that there were other colour schemes in Windows that Microsoft actually gave you a larger version of. For example, there's Lilac and Large Lilac, Maple. You had Pumpkin, which was large colour. Hate that colour scheme, but never mind. Not for me, no. What was that? Then you had, Don't Choose Rainy Day. I mean, that was quite a low contrast colour scheme, really thinking about it. This was Brick with the selected items. I mean, look at that. How are you supposed to see that? Is it selected? I can't tell. Is it? I don't know. And then you had Rose, which was also large, and in Times New Roman, which is a serif font, which no help, but only the title bar. So I kind of guess it kind of looked a wee bit alright, made your computer look like a menu at a really fancy tea room. I don't know. Kind of get the feeling it's like Windows 95 for the Athol House Hotel. Or the Balmoral. And then, of course, you had extra large and large window variations of the Windows scheme. Of course, there's always the option to make your own colour scheme. Because you can actually change the fonts and sizes yourself. For example, the scroll bar, you can make it as big as you want. So, yeah! Okay, that may be a bit too big. But I mean, and then you can change, the size of screen borders, which should always be done in font size. I really don't know why that was. Again, that's completely over the top, but yeah. You could have a dainty wee no border. And then, of course, you've got menus. Like I said, you can actually select. You can actually change the size of the menu independently of the font size. Have a look at this. You can just basically have whatever font size you desire. Now, one thing that really does get on my nerves regarding resizing things is people will just tell you change the resolution, and actually, okay, perhaps I'm being a wee bit unfair. For some people, that will work wonders. Oh, and I've got to apologise, this control panel looks completely different because of the video driver I'm using. I'm using a Windows 98. I'm using an ATI video driver. Because the card that's in here is an ATI Rage LT Pro AGP2X. Same card that's in the Notino, actually. Never had 95 on this machine, actually. I've always thought it'd be an ideal machine for 95. But yeah. A couple of things you can do, and this is not just because of this driver. This is available in Windows 95 itself. Choose whatever driver you're using. A lot of people have said, just why don't you go and change the resolution? Now, that could be quite good. One slight problem with that. I mean, like I said, for my best friend, that works fine. He is happy to do that. Trouble is, on a flat screen monitor such as this one, it can cause blurring. And to be honest, Compaq have made some of the better monitors where, kind of non-native resolutions have been concerned. But also nowadays, a lot of programs require you to have much higher than even 1024 by 768. And even back in the day, Windows would like you to have 800 by 600. If you could help it. So changing the resolution wasn't always a possibility. So I'm just going to pop that back to how it used to be. Also, there's font size. Now, font size in here is different to font size in the menu and the appearance properties, because what this does, and this actually scales all of the font sizes. So you can scale it to be smaller or scale it to be bigger. Now, in theory, that should work absolutely brilliant, because size 10. If you set it at high enough, size 10 could be equivalent to size 14. And then obviously all the other fonts would go, be kind of a similar size. Of a relational size, sorry. Unfortunately, there is a slight problem with that as well. Windows is not necessarily designed for... Windows can take it. It will look odd, because the fonts are bigger than it's expecting, so it doesn't know how to lay things out. Some programs, though, and especially games, just won't take the change of point scaling. So, I've tried it in the past. Unfortunately, however, I've got to say that unless you're... if you're using your computer for basic, word processing, internet browsing, that sort of stuff, that's kind of fine to change. But if you're using it for more than that, if you're using it for multimedia and gaming, that's an option that sadly you have to leave alone. And it is a shame. But it does bring me quite neatly onto something. So far, all of the options I've changed have been in Windows themselves. So, for those people who have disabilities, but they're not so, can we say, severe, it might just be a wee tweak is what's needed in the computer. Something that can be done with Windows. Take this for example. People with dyslexia, they find it easier to read on a tinted background. A lot of my friends at university were tested to be dyslexic. They were tested for dyslexia and they were found to be dyslexic. And so as a result, they were able to get things actually put to, different coloured papers, things like exam sheets or class resources, class handouts. And also on the computer screen, they actually found it better to read in a certain, they actually found it better to be able to read a certain, off of a certain shade of colour. I actually did one of these tests and it actually found that I could read better off of green. So I'm going to show you how you can make Windows 95. And this is just in the appearance control panel, by the way. Make Windows 95 more adaptable for people with dyslexia. Like I say, I've not spent any money, I've not done anything with software at this point. It's just the operating system. Now, I don't want to set it to something ridiculous. I just want a tint of green. Not necessarily, not necessarily like, colour it all green, like, that. Just want a wee tint. So, do you know what? I think this will do. So what I'm going to do here, just going to click OK. And then apply. And then what we'll see is the application workspace has gone green. See that? Makes my computer look a wee bit more substantial. But more importantly, you remember how Word worked in black? It's actually became green. So that, in theory, would make things easier to read for me. And I don't know why Word keeps crashing on here. I really, really do not know, but I'll tell you something, it's kind of getting annoying. But, and here's another thing that you can do. I mean, while we're in Word, Word isn't part of Windows, so please forgive me. Something I always used to do, rather than save people having to set the font size themselves, if you're going to be the only one using the machine, if it's your machine, why not just make it something that is easy for you? Like for me, for example, Arial Point 14, really quite good. So I can just type some sort of a message like and of course there's always the option there to enlarge the font size if you need. And then of course there's the ability for Word to crash. Thanks. Okay, now what if you did need some extra help? Now, again, there's lots of different programs. For example, Text Help Systems had a program called Read and Write. It's been around for ages, that would read things off of the screen. It's kind of like a screen reader, but rather than reading the whole screen, it concentrates on reading documents in a format that's actually, that's, helping, people with dyslexia with spelling, and, it'll actually read things back to them. Actually, I must admit, I had a friend who basically used the then latest version of Read and Write Gold back in 2007 to read out some adult literature. She said it was quite funny because the guy reads it like a newsreader, and he really, I didn't ever get it to read out adult literature, but I could just imagine it, because the Text Help Read and Write guy did sound like a newsreader. But like I said, there are different bits of assistive technology available. You might notice I use a piece of software called ZoomText on Windows XP, which magnifies the screen. I was unable to find a version of ZoomText that would work with Windows 98, or let alone 95, But Freedom Scientific, who make JAWS, which is the de facto screen reader program, they actually still keep old versions of their software on the website. And here's the best bit. The software will run in demo mode if you don't have the authentication disk, because it needed an authentication floppy disk back in the day to run. If you didn't have that, it would just run in demo mode. So I can show you now. This is Windows 95, and this is a version of Magic. This actually came out in 2003, did this version. So it's, and it's version 8. So there were versions before. But here we go with a screen magnifier for Windows 95. Oh, and by the way, if anyone actually has the activation disks for these pieces of software, you don't need them anymore. You could, send them on my way. Okay, yeah, so now it's giving me a row for not having an activation disk. You might not be able to use it. Do you know what? I need Clint from Lazy Game Reviews or Elmo3 to kind of do a Duke Nukem version of the voice. So basically, this is absolutely brilliant. Without this, It's nae good, Captain. I cannot read the screen. That is for all of you guys. Road Geek, Elmo3, Matthew H12, the Powermac Galaxy. Yeah, we're just chatting on Skype, and Road Geek turns out and says to me, "Oh well, for obvious reasons, Jay seems to be the best at doing Scotty impersonations." Star Trek. Okay. Right, enough. So now that I have the screen magnified, I can see all the Klingons. I can see all the Klingons on the starboard ward. And I can use Microsoft Net Meeting to tell the inhabitants of a far out planet that we come in peace, shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. We come in peace, shoot to kill, Jim. No, only kidding on. Okay, enough with the Star Trek references. Sorry, couldn't resist. So basically what this does is it kind of magnifies the screen. You've got different magnification options, as you do with any self-respectable magnification program. Because this is about 16 billion years old, however, the options are a wee bit more sparse than what you get in Zoom text. There's no... I mean, the font scale kind of nicely, a lot better than what I expect, but you do actually start to see some jagged edges. Meet me at the altar in your white dress. Nah, not that jagged edge, although they are exceedingly brilliant. You ever heard the Jagged Edge song Let's Get Married? If you haven't, go and listen to it. It's an amazing song. Okay, that's my advertising done. You owe me big, R-I-A-A. Anyway, now I'm only kidding. Come round to my house in a Buick, I'll be never seen again. Okay, you do have other options, with the magnification. So you've got, oh my goodness, was trippy. You can actually use it as a magnifying glass over the screen. You do have smoothing, and without that, obviously, things become a lot more jagged. So that was how sleek it. I love that the S would become smooth. Very, very funny. And without it, it'd become really pixelated. But I mean, the difference isn't that much, but you can see that as I turn smoothing on and off, as I turn it on, there's fewer jagged edges. Like I said, you do have a lens magnifier. You have an overlay, which basically it'll just have a docked magnifier. And unlike the Windows magnifier, you can actually go underneath the overlay to see what would otherwise be there. And the Windows magnifier is something we're actually going to come on to. And then you've got split, which is, again, kind of like the Windows 98 magnifier, because it's docked and it's covers, some of the screen. But it doesn't resize everything else to kind of fit around it. You still can go underneath the magnifier. Well, actually, what that does is that actually pans the rest of the screen up at the top. So basically, this actually works like bifocal lenses. Whoops. So I'm going to use this to go back to full. I've always preferred the full screen magnification. And I've realised this machine's not even plugged in. I wonder how long it could last on the battery. I probably should run these on the battery. It'll do them the power good. Ones that still have working batteries in them. Then, of course, you have mouse echo. I don't know what that is. I think it's supposed to help the, magnification on the screen. And then you've got... Oh, no, I know what that is. It's for the speech. Because this magnifier has kind of a, speech synthesizer. I think it must be kind of a subset of JAWS. Okay. You're awful quiet today.
Start. HP information. MS. New Office document. Open Office document. Programs. Accessories.
Eloquence for JAWS.
Magic 802. Online services. Startup. WinRAR. Acrobat Reader 5. Internet Explorer. Internet Mail. Internet News. Microsoft Access. Microsoft Binder. Microsoft Excel. Microsoft NetMeeting. Microsoft Outlook. Microsoft Photo Editor. Microsoft PowerPoint. Microsoft Word. MS. DOS. The Microsoft Windows Messaging. Magic.
I am aware that it sounds like it has a cold. So, yeah, that is magic. Now, one thing I will say about these third-party screen magnifiers and readers, they do take up quite a lot of system resources. So whatever you think you need your computer to run, always spec higher. Things are not necessarily as bad as they were, but I mean, if you're trying to kit out a computer of this era for assistive technology, always get higher than what you think you're going to need. Okay, now with that all said, there's just one last thing I'm wanting to show you in Windows 95, and this is the command prompt. Now, bearing in mind, if you go to full screen, there's nothing you can really do because it goes from graphics to text mode. But while you're in windowed mode, it is graphics. So you can do this, for example. You can actually change the font size of your command prompt. So it's actually now a lot bigger. Obviously, there's going to be slight problems, with some programs. But I mean, this is the MS-DOS editor. It's a lot bigger. And if you go to properties, you can actually choose to use bitmapped fonts, or to true type. It's kind of good. But it doesn't necessarily let you choose like bolder fonts or what have you. But yeah, I mean, that's the MS-DOS editor in large print. Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to restart. I'm going to take you into Windows 98. Because when Windows 98 came out, Microsoft actually did a few things with accessibility. However, before I talk about Windows 98, in 1997, Microsoft came out with something called Active Disability. And what that used to do is that would provide a framework for programs to be able to talk to assistive software. So basically, the idea of active accessibility was, for example, controls could tell their location. They could tell a screen reader, for example, where they were on screen, and things about themselves, like what they did and what key was used to activate them. So it's it really was an effort by Microsoft to make the systems more accessible. And when I installed JAWS, I needed to install active accessibility. And while we're in Windows 98, we're going to have a look at JAWS, because I didn't download an version of JAWS early enough that would actually still work with Windows 95, so epic fail on my part. When I first saw JAWS, I was seeing someone who is also visually impaired, and she had access to a laptop. A Windows 98 second edition laptop with Office 2000, actually. And she had JAWS, and she had a screen magnifier. I'd never seen a screen magnifier at this point, but I thought that was pretty cool. Okay, so to Windows 98. So, as well as having the regular accessibility options in Control Panel, when I can find them, show extra keyboard help in programs, that's always nice. You also had the accessibility wizard. Now, where you went to find this was in accessories/accessibility. Now, basically, this would ask you a few questions. It would be like, click on one of the arrow keys. Click or use the arrow keys to select the smallest text you can read. So it's like, use normal text size for windows, use large windows for titles and menus, use Microsoft Magnifier and large titles and menus. We'll just kind of use the normal one for now. The following options can determine the size of text and other items on your computer. So you can change text size, switch to a lower screen resolution, use a Microsoft Magnifier. Again, we're just not going to select any of that. Now basically what this does is it presents all of the same options that I showed you in Windows 95, but it presents them in more of a user-friendly way. So for example, it says, click one of the statements that apply to you. I am blind or have difficulty seeing things on the screen. I am deaf and have difficulty hearing sounds from the computer. I have difficulty using the keyboard and mouse. I want to set administrative options. Admin options were really quite good, especially in Windows 2000, as you could save Accessibility Wizard files. Basically what that would mean is you could just kind of, for me at least, when I was at school, I would be able to take this file with me, and what it would do is set the mouse pointer to large, because I couldn't obviously access the control panels at school, and I didn't need to. All I needed was to get a large mouse pointer. So I always had an accessibility file on a flash disk and in my network area at school. So what we're going to do is just going to select all of these options so I can show you. So I think this is the I am blind and have difficulty seeing. So I can instead of me having to do things manually, the accessibility wizard can take me through making things like icons and other Windows items or components larger. Or I can actually, and then it'll tell me, different colour schemes I can use. And you might have noticed actually, there are two new high contrast colour schemes that actually look a wee bit more attractive, if you want my honest opinion. But yeah, there's two new high contrast colour schemes, which is very nice, in Windows 98. Same rules apply when changing colour schemes as in Windows 95. You can actually do it using the appearance control panel, but you already knew that. Now we've got sounds entry. It says, if you are deaf or hard of hearing, you may want to have visual warnings notify you of system events. Do you want these warnings for system sounds? No. And then obviously you've got show sounds and sticky keys as well as actually it's called bounce keys now in Windows 98. Bounce keys. If your hands shake, you may accidentally press a key several times instead of only once. You may want Windows to ignore all but the first keystroke. Do you want bounce keys to ignore repeated keystrokes? Used to be called filter keys in Windows 95. Then you've got toggle keys. We're actually going to turn it on, see if that actually works any better in 98. Extra keyboard help. If you don't use a mouse, you may want extra keyboard help. Do you want keyboard help displayed when it's available? And then, of course, you've got mouse keys. Now, I was going to talk to you about mouse cursors in Windows 98, and oh yes, here is the time. Because look at the different large mouse pointers you have. Well, not just large. You have an option of small, medium, or large versions of white, black, and inverted mouse pointers. Now, white is kind of the normal one you see in Windows. It's kind of like, white trash. Then you've got black. I use that. I prefer it. It's kind of nice and visible. Allows you to keep the shadow effect if you're using Windows 2000 XP, Vista, or 7. And then you've got this interesting one. Inverted. We used to have this. I remember my maths teacher at Temple Bank used to have this enabled on his machines on Windows 95, and basically what it does is it kind of you can actually see that whatever colour it's on, it'll kind of go for the negative opposite of that colour. So, in theory, it makes things extremely easy to see. However, I can see a flaw here, because the opposite of dark grey is, well, dark grey, because there's equal amounts of colour on the spectrum. So, you see what it is? It's just like a wee outline of an arrow. You had one job. Oh, there's really no way you could code your way around that. Actually, there probably is. You know, if inverse colour is the same as regular colour, then turn it bright yellow or something. I don't know. But I'm going to go back to black. AC/DC there, back in black. Way! I have my mouse pointer back in black. Then you have mouse button settings. You can, you know, it'll ask you if you want it set up for right-handed or left-handed. Now you might think, oh, but why is Windows doing that? You know, being left-handed isn't a disability. Well, no. It's not necessarily a disability. It's only a disability. Well, it was only a disability back in the day when society actually used to enforce that you were right-handed. But you have people who maybe don't have the use of the right hand, or maybe, you know, only have use of, you know, kind of certain fingers or what have you. It's actually a useful option. This is, again, an example of that, you know, technology used for people with disabilities. It's not always about... With assistive tech, it's not always about what you have available. It's how you use what you have available. But then again, having said that, you do... You know, there are times when you do need to actually go out and, you know, actually buy a tangible piece of technology. Then, of course, you've got the mouse speed. You can have it slow or fast. And then you can enable mouse trails. And then you've got admin settings, the ones that I was telling you about. You can... when more than one person uses a computer, it's a good idea to have Windows turn off accessible features when you finish using the computer. Turn off sticky keys, filter keys, toggle keys, and high contrast. See, it's called filter keys again. User interface fail, guys. Get some continuity. It's and high contrast features after the computer has been idle for, and then you can select how long the computer has to be idle for. Then you have default accessibility settings. The settings you have chosen will take effect after you log on with your username. If you make these settings, the default Windows activates them. Oh, if you make the settings, the default Windows activates them before you log in and applies them to new user accounts. So that's if you have like separate custom user accounts. I don't on here, so yeah. And then of course, like I said, you can actually save the settings. So yeah, I was able to save the settings. And then of course, finishing the accessibility wizard actually tells me what I've enabled. And then if I go to finish, the settings are there. And does toggle keys work? Does it heck? No, it does not. Now, I guess I also need to show you the Windows magnifier. Windows magnifier has been like this for the longest time, but now in Windows 7 they've finally made it a full screen magnifier. And of course, it's the same in Windows 8 as well. But for the longest time, Windows magnifier was just a wee bar. Sure, you could resize it. Watch. Or you could also move it and then have it kind of as a docked bar. but you could actually resize it so it actually fills half the screen. And it kind of gives you that bifocal thing. However, as you can see, it's not really that smooth. I mean, Jaws is a lot smoother. I mean, yeah, there was a wee bit of tearing on this machine, display tearing. But, you know, this is not the smoothest. You could just have that, you know, just just not have the magnifier at all. There we go. Come on, come on. Yeah. Obviously it becomes a wee bit more smooth if you just have a, you know, smaller portion of the screen dedicated to the Windows magnifier. And you can change the zoom level. You could do that in Jaws and Magic. Sorry, I'll actually show you that. I just realised I forgot to show you that. Follow the mouse pointer. Follow the keyboard focus. So basically, that's when, you know, the keyboard cursor, or, you know, when you're typing, or if you press tab, you can see it's actually following the keyboard focus. Invert colours. Use high contrast mode. That will basically change Windows to use a high contrast colour scheme, as well as the magnifier. Start minimized, or show the magnifier. So like I said, you know, use high contrast colour scheme. That says, you know, kind of changed everything. You know, it's kind of changed it. Oh, and of course, it doesn't put your colours back, and then the magnifier stops working. Come on, Windows magnifier, you had one job. Look at that, it's just got several reasons to hate the original Windows magnifier. It really was bad, but I do like the kind of blue and purple thing. That's kind of nice, but I don't like the green and very thing. That's not the best, if I'm honest, but never mind. Can I put it back? Can I put my screen back? There it was. Oh no, I didn't. Oh, no, it said it. Never mind. Okay, so I'll actually show you Jaws as I have it installed on Windows 98. I actually showed Jaws off on my high grade Notino video, but I'll turn it up.
Plus F1. For JAWS help keys or help in dialog boxes, press Insert plus H for a summary of Windows. Use Insert plus H for instructions on adjusting volume. Wave volume, up dot.
Oh, I seem to have annoyed it.
Taskbar. Freedom Scientific Authorization Man. Taskbar. Freedom Scientific Author. Taskbar. JAWS. Control Escape. Stop. New Office document.
So as you can see, it's actually reading out what's on the screen.
Open Office document. Windows Update. Program submenu. Accessory submenu. Windows M. Microsoft Word. Enter. Leaving menus. Start button.
So just kind of.
Hear the JAWS help topic for micro. Control D. Font dialog. Font edit. ARIAL. Tab. Size 27. Shift tab. Font spread. BOFD. Enter. Document 1. Page 1. Edit.
And one thing I do like about Jaws, when I ran it on the Notino, if you go back and watch that video, you'll actually hear it, because what it'll do is it'll give you a list of all the commands and all the keyboard shortcuts.
IF space U space RE space READING space PHIS space THEN space I space ILL space LET space YOU space KEN space PHAT space I space AM space NOT space AS space GOOD space AS space BILLY space COORE space AT space MICROSOFT space WORD space RELATED space PUNS. Exclaim. Enter. If you are reading this, then I will. Let you. Page down. Page up. Select. If you are Control Shift down arrow. Control Shift up arrow. Control space.
I forgot what it was to read it, but you can actually have.
If you are Control Shift space. Control Shift down arrow. Control Shift up arrow.
Not in the table.
Control Shift down arrow. Alt Control Shift up arrow. If you are reading this, then I will let you ken that I am not as good as Billy Coor at Microsoft Word related puns.
Yeah, got it to read it.
Alt F4, Mike N. Jaws.
But you don't have to deal with Jaws just speaking in a monotonous male voice. You can change the voices.
Menu active, utilities, configuration manager. Leaving menus. Untitled -Jaws configuration manager.
Okay,
Jaws.
that's...
Menu active, file, run Jaws from system tray, voices, global dot, leaving menus, global voice settings dialog, modify default radio button, punctuation, most.
So you can actually change the voices. In later version of Jaws, you have different voices. In fact, I think you should have different voices
Menu.
even in this version.
Menu, keyboard dot, PC cursor dot, Jaws cursor, message dot, uppercase dot dot, global dot dot, keyboard, leaving menu, enter, voice, menu active, configuration, keyboard, dictionary menu, frame, script, menu, Jaws, synth, menu, American, written, menu, eloquence for, no speech, menu, American, British English,
And then you can change it to British, which sounds awful.
Castilian Spanish, Latin American Spanish, French, German, Italian, Brazilian Portuguese. Enter. Menu active, run Jaws from system tray. Menu, global dot dot dot, menu, configuration manager, utilities.
Hang on, I can...
New enter, leaving menus, start button, enter.
Oh,
To hear the Jaws helped, Alt F4, Alt F4. Open up, enter, leaving menus.
oh no!
Blank document, enter.
Seriously.
Microsoft Word dash document one.
Microsoft Word. Seriously.
Space. E-U-N-T. What? Space. 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 Reader. Select. Reader. D-A-F-P-R-O-N. Space. E-H-O-W. E-A-R. Space. D-O-E-R. Space. A-S-R-E-A-T-N-Y-A-I. Space. Carrot. Cat and. Space. R-E-S. Cop. Space. Space. U-N-E-R-S-D-R-A-E-S. Space. Space. F-C-R-E-N-F-C-E-A. Space. Space. Period. Space. Socialize. S-I-L-I-S-E-N-E-E-N-E-E-N-F-W-E-L-S-E. Enter. CTRL Shift Up Arrow. I am an English dog person and I enjoy wearing my bowler hat as I eat my fish and chips, cucumber sandwiches and cream scones with jam. I go into London town to get them on the big red bus with my fellow conservatives and we all sit and read the Daily Mail and not bother to socialize with anybody else.
Yep, that just pretty much sums up England.
Alt tab. Joel. Menu. Key. Menu. Menu. American enter. Leaving menus. Menu active. Run JAWS from sys. Alt tab. Alt F4. End. Alt tab. Alt F4. Space.
Will you shut up and go away? And then, of course, I still need to show you a wee bit about magic. Stop it! I don't have the activation disk, and no amount of nagging is going to make me produce one. The authorization disk. I don't have it.
Freedom Scientific Authorization Manager Magic.
Shut up!
Notification. Speech. Disabled.
So, like, who are you calling disabled? So, like I said, I mean, you can actually change the font size. You can actually change the magnification intensity, just like you can in Windows Magnifier, but it obviously looks a lot better. And you can invert the colours. Photographic negativity, cool, man. And the compact logo, the compact desktop wallpaper, it just looks so wrong. Demonstration will stop running in 4 minutes. You'll need to reboot the computer in order to run the demonstration again. Oh no! Sorry, Luke. I couldn't resist. Come on, it was just kind of asking to be done. Right, yeah, and obviously, you know, this is you've got the thing. Resize view. Oh, resize view. You can actually resize the view. If you're obviously running. If you're obviously running Magnifier in one of the docked modes and not in full screen. Right, so we're just going to click no there. So, this has been a tiny wee look about the different pieces of assistive technology available to Windows 95 and 98 users. I'm sorry I couldn't have been more in depth of what I had available to me, but I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. Billy, I do believe I have completed my challenge now, so yes, it's quite a bit of fun actually doing this challenge, kind of putting it together, choosing the right laptop to do it on as well. But I think this Compaq Armada 1750 with its excellent sound system in it, excellent speakers, you know, it really came through for me. So yeah, absolutely brilliant machine. But like I said, you know, I just wish that I would like to preserve old examples of assistive technology. I really would, because I mean, it's amazing what things were made accessible and what was available and when, and you know, a lot of people think that things like touchscreens and things like that are new. Okay, HP came up with the touchscreen in 1983, but I mean, for the longest time, you would see them in schools for people with disabilities. You know, touchscreens are excellent pieces of kit for people who, you know, have motor neuron disabilities. You know, and kind of having a touchscreen can kind of help with hand-eye coordination. You know, certainly using some edutainment games, it's absolutely brilliant. You know, I've used them a few times myself. You know, we had a touchscreen on. I mean, we had a BBC Micro at Temple Bank kitted out with a touchscreen, and what's more, we had it kitted out as well with a speech synthesizer. And I'm no joking here, it actually was. It was a screen reader for the BBC Micro. Absolutely amazing bit of kit, even though for some reason in our classroom it was kind of set with a really high-pitched voice, so it was like, you'd switch it on and be like, ready, Bramp Rider. Didn't sound that good, although some of the other ones were actually timed down, so it was quite a nice deep voice. It's like, ready. But yeah, so it really was like that BBC computer had a voice. But yeah, I would like to thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel, and if you're already subscribed to my channel, well, please do feel free to go on to the channel and actually search through all my old videos if you've not already seen them, and I hope you'll all join me for my next video. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have any comments, or if you'd like to kind of offer me any information on assistive technology or anything like that, please do feel free to drop one in the comments box. However, comments are moderated, as you probably may have guessed, so please be patient while I can get around to actually going through unread, unmoderated comments. But thank you for watching, and please come back and join me for my next video.